How do you plan to sell the idea of sponsorship, of advertising to people who would want to advertise with Dumas? Because in Malaysia, Durham University is not that great a presence, I think. And here, obviously, it's a very targeted society. I mean, Malaysian society. What would attract them to sponsor us?
I think what I did last time, which was fairly successful, obviously not many people know about Durham, Malaysia, but if you look through certain advertisements, such as I went through a lot of the expat magazines in Malaysia and took out the firms that sponsored the expat magazine and thus mentioned a lot of schools and a lot of universities. And from there, they were the ones who were interested. And obviously last time it was a charity donation, so obviously they had the incentive to give to charity, whilst our hungry stomachs for Malaysian food may not be an incentive and it's not considered charity. But the point is, we may be able to offer like advertising, such as I said, with the posters and with like the articles. We may be able to offer them advertising in the prospect, obviously, that a lot of us, once we finish university, we might go back to Malaysia, and thus they would want to advertise themselves as a firm, as a potential employer for people who are sitting in this room right now. Obviously, Durham is quite high up in the UK university rankings, and thus they may want to have people as potential employees in the future. And I find that to be a good incentive for them.
Any other questions? Okay, question from me. Apart from what you've already touched on, what challenges in relation to sponsorship do you see for Dumas, and how would you overcome them?
Obviously, I think that people might not be willing to, it's obvious that people might not be willing to donate or sponsor Dumas, as the question before and previously talked about. But I think it's really important to have good communication and not leave it to the last minute, which I think, as you've said before, is really important. So what I would plan to do is call, an effective strategy that I found to get sponsorships is to call them first during the day when it's not too late at night, when they're not trying to finish work. So call them and then follow up with emails and try and be as convincing as possible, try and be as nice as possible, and try and find kind of a point that really benefits them as well as us. Obviously that depends from firm to firm, but as I said, like future employee prospects could be a big role in this. And it doesn't have to be big donations. A lot of small things can add up to something very large. And obviously in terms of the non-food sponsorships for the auctions or for the raffles, I think it'd be easier to find those in Malaysia, whilst sources here may be of smaller value, but if you add up loads of things with small value, it can come up to something very big and very effective.
You have a question?
Yes, in other universities from Malaysian societies, what makes them so successful in sponsorship effort is their alumnus or former students. Do you have any idea on how we could approach our alumnus or former students that we could actually get some sponsorship for them?
Do you mean as in ask our alumni for sponsorships?
Anywhere, anyone. Yeah.
I do know quite a few people who came to Durham who are part of alumni who also happen to be living in Malaysia or Malaysian. So it's very possible, through contacts of our own. It's not just the exec who need to find sponsorships. But obviously, if us all from Dumas know one other person who used to come to Durham University, who is also Malaysian, then that really adds up, because it's like kind of a collective effort. But yes, obviously, I know some universities, especially like UCL and LSE, obviously there's a lot more Malaysian people there, so it might seem a lot easier for them to get sponsorships. But I know that Durham has fewer Malaysians, and fewer people know about Durham University, as has been already highlighted. But I think if we really try to approach them, it might be possible. I don't know if previously we have done that, Dumas has done that in the past, whether they've approached alumni or not. But it could definitely be viable if we do put an effort to it.
Right. So, as you know, our society is really small. I think that's one of the problems that we're facing. So, what key points would you highlight to potential sponsors in order to make them interested in wanting to fund us? Because technically they'll be funding quite small events unless we do branch out and do collaborative bigger events. So what are the key points that you would highlight and really bring up to make them want to sponsor a small society like ours?
The event might be small, but I think advertising is really important, as I said with one of my ideas with the posters and articles after each event or festival, to kind of not just contain Dumas within Malaysians or within Southeast Asian people, but to make it more known to the rest of the university, to make it a bigger event, to make it that more people know about it. As I said before, the more people know about it, the more people we attract, the more people that will come to our events, and the larger it will be. And I think that is an important step into making sponsors see that Dumas is actually quite an effective thing. It's actually quite large. But I think that a lot of people do not know about Dumas, and that maybe they don't find, well, not in a bad way, but they don't find it to be so welcome to Malaysian society if they're not Malaysian or if they don't know anything about Malaysia. But I really want to highlight the fact that anyone can come to Dumas if they want to find out more. It's not just about Malaysian people and Malaysian people only, but anyone can come, and that will make the event more successful and will make it larger. It will be more talked about, and I think that's really important.
Any other questions? Right. I'll just say on the alumni point, this is not a question, I just want to explain. I approached the alumni office back in September, maybe. I tried to get them, because obviously data protection, we can't get their email. So anything we send to alumni has to go to the alumni office. And they said something like, you need to get university approval whenever you use the university's name in any form of sponsorship agreement. So yeah, they didn't seem too willing to help us. But that's not to say I think there's other ways we could do that, which I think they're looking to set up some sort of Malaysian alumni network. At the moment there isn't one, so that could be an opportunity, maybe informally, kind of off the record, speak to them. So yeah, do we have who's graduating this year and has a job lined up? Yeah. Yeah. Next year you may get a call from Duma. Okay. So thank you very much, Joyie.